Thank you for continuing to listen to American Medicine Today, brought to you by the Bonati Spine Institute. I'm Kimberly Brummel, joined by Aaron Jacobson in the producer seat there.
Oh, I like that.
And we have Jeff Wagstaff, our senior fellow.
Sitting here in the high chair.
In the high chair. And we have world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Thank you for being here.
I have the high chair, and I cannot lower. Hi.
And on the line, we have Dr. Stephanie Herodopoulos, the president of Brevard County Medical Society and board-certified family practitioner. Now, you're here to tell us today how the tide is turning against Amendment 2, which legalizes marijuana in Florida. So why don't you take it from there, Dr. Herodopoulos?
We are very concerned about Amendment 2, the Brevard County Medical Society, as well as most of my colleagues, because it's not done in a very regulated or responsible way.
Okay.
The loopholes are so great that the medication or marijuana can be recommended to anyone at any age for any medical condition, and that is just too loose for our comfort.
Dr. Herodopoulos, we've seen in recent news reports that they have actually taken measures to legalize a form of marijuana that is very low in THC, that is supposed to help children avoid seizures and things of that nature. Do you feel like that is a proper medical diagnosis and proper medication? Because it sure seems like these children are receiving relief.
Absolutely. In fact, the Florida legislature just they passed the Senate Bill 1030, and it was signed into law by Governor Rick Scott a couple weeks ago for this non-euphoric, non-smokable, low THC form of marijuana, which indeed can be utilized to help people with their seizures and epilepsy and ALS and Parkinson's. But it was done in a regulated, responsible way, and I'm not opposed to that. In fact, I welcome that, and I think that that's part of what we need. But what I have a problem with is Amendment 2. As a physician, I could never recommend anybody to smoke anything. But Amendment 2 allows smokable marijuana, which will be sold in pot shops that are not regulated under a pharmacy. You don't have quality control. You don't have standards of care. You don't have individual metered dosing. We don't have follow-up on the patients. And it's just bad medicine and a bad precedent to set to pass medicine by ballot measure.
So you think that the marijuana, if it were to be completely legalized, that it would fall into the wrong hands, and you're afraid due to that there would be no way to make sure that it's really what it is, and people would just run rampant and
regulate it
and be.
Yeah, it's the way that the amendment was written. It says for any other medical condition, so that could be a headache, a hangnail, back pain, and so therefore you're going to open it up for abuse. It's going to be exploited by the financial opportunists, and there are a lot of people out there who want to make money off this if this passes, and it's going to be exploited by the recreational users. I actually commend what they did in New York. Governor Cuomo last week signed a bill that did pass medicinal marijuana, but in a very regulated, smart, individual metered dosing policy. This is a far cry from what Amendment 2 is. Amendment 2 is saying it's medicinal marijuana, but it's really recreational. It might as well be Colorado and Washington under the thin veil of medicine.
And you're guessing it would be easy for somebody just to walk into a doctor's office and say, I have a headache, and they would be prescribed marijuana.
So you're the unscrupulous physicians that fueled the pill mill crisis that we had in the state will come back and open up shop and say, sure, you need marijuana? Give me cash. They get their recommendation for marijuana. They walk over to the pot shop. The pot shop dispenses who knows what potency, what pesticide or mold or other additives are in there, and then people smoke it. This is not the way medicine should be delivered in the state. So it's going to be opened up to abuse. I worked really hard in helping the pill mills go out of business by advocating to pass in the 2010 legislature the pill mill bill. And the CDC just commended Florida on its success of that bill, which gave a tool to the law enforcement to put the pill mills out of business. And now we've seen a decrease in the amount of overdoses and deaths by narcotics. I understand we're talking about a different drug, but a drug that also has very, very severe side effects and the problems with marijuana is the potency is not what it was in the 70s. We're talking, if it was 7%, we're talking up to 50, 60%, and they're ingesting it and they're marketing it so it looks like candy for kids.
Right.
So when you set the norm, you change the norm and you say, you know what, our kids are sensitive to norms. If they feel like marijuana is harmful, their consumption goes down. If you legalize it, you're going to send the opposite message. And the adolescents, already 1 and 2 will try it by the time they finish high school, and 1 in 6 that use it will get addicted on it. And you're going to increase their risk of addiction by passing this. They'll have higher risk of long-lasting decreases in their cognitive capacity. That means lowering their IQ, emotional problems, shrinks the size of your part of your frontal lobe of your brain. There are major issues with this. I'm not comfortable with it, and my job right now as a mother and as a physician is to educate the Floridians of really what the ramifications of Amendment 2 will do. Okay, go on.
We're also seeing, though, in the news that people are getting into accidents, and when they do the test to see if there's alcohol, drugs in their system, they're finding marijuana in a lot of, at least the articles I'm seeing all over the news. Do you think that will happen more often if this were to become legalized?
Fatal car crashes involving marijuana has tripled during the previous decade. So yes, you're going to see an increase in the amount of drug driving traffic accidents. And we're also seeing a 3 times increase in the amount of poison control calls in the states that have legalized marijuana because the potency is so high and it's being ingested by adolescents and children. So to say that marijuana is not dangerous is false. To say that it doesn't kill you is false. And I think that the argument saying that the state will benefit in tax revenues from it goes out the window when you are going to see the severe ramifications where it could affect people's lives in car crashes, or even the implementation of the law is going to be very costly, or people are going to have health issues and their health insurance rates are going to go up, or maybe they're not going to show up to work because they're stoned, or they're going to have mental health impairments. Right. All of that's going to cost money too. So I think that argument does not stand.
Dr. Herodopoulos, you mentioned children earlier, and I think that everyone, regardless of how they feel of marijuana being legalized or not, I think that all folks who are applying common sense to this debate can agree that we want to keep marijuana, alcohol, and everything else out of the hands of our children. But you had said that you felt like it would make it more accessible to children. As a guy who grew up in the 70s in St. Louis, Missouri, as a high school student, as a young adult, it was almost impossible to find or to be able to obtain alcohol because it was so regulated. But yet, at school, in the neighborhoods, on the streets, you could find marijuana, pills, LSD. You could find those drugs readily available in our schools and accessible to children. So, although I agree with your efforts, I would strongly disagree that by legalizing recreational marijuana or medical marijuana, that it would make it more accessible to children. Studies and the facts actually show that it would make it much harder for children to access this drug. And I would think that you would agree.
Well, in maybe in other states where they actually have the age limit, but in the Amendment 2 language, it doesn't specify age, unfortunately, even though the writer of the amendment could have specified and made that, closed that loophole. So you actually can get the recommendation for marijuana without your parental consent.
And like you mentioned earlier, we've seen a change here. The pill mill was a rampant problem. Obviously, pills are still a problem we see here in the Bay Area, but it used to seem like every day there was a new story on the news of a pill mill being busted here or there. So we're seeing that there's been a change in the way they're regulating how the pills are being distributed. Can Amendment 2 in a way do that, where they can find a way to distribute it in the right way and make it regulated so it is being distributed in a safe way and the people that actually need it are getting it?
And I think that's speculation and presumption that the Department of Health is going to do that, and perhaps the legislation. See, the problem is when you pass an amendment, that's a constitutional change. That's in our law. That supersedes anything you do in legislation. So my argument is this should not have been passed by ballot measure at all. It should have started out in a very responsible, regulated way from the get-go, and then with the regulation and individual meter doses. So I think we went for the Holy Mary on Amendment 2 with the free-for-all versus let's start out. I say scratch Amendment 2, start from scratch, try to replicate what they did in New York.
And change it up. Just basically rewrite a new amendment, change up the language in it. Absolutely.
I wouldn't even do it in an amendment. I would do it in legislation. So it could be, I don't think it needs to be a constitutional language in our law. It doesn't have to be done that way.
Fair enough. We're coming up to the break. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate you joining us. It's Dr. Herodopoulos, and we were talking about the tide changing here on Amendment 2.
That's true. If you or someone you know is suffering with headaches, neck, back, or leg pain, reach out to the Bonati Spine Institute, 855-267-0483, or visit Bonati.com. Coming up after the break, we are going to hear what's new in American medicine today. You're listening to News Radio 970, WFLA.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
The Bonati Spine Institute is proud to announce more than a 94% patient-reported success rate in over 45,000 patent-protected spine surgical procedures. Call us today at 855-267-0483 or visit us at Bonati.com.
All my pain is gone. Today I am totally pain-free. Nothing. No after effect.
I'm pain-free, and I have had to take any pain medication.
Today I am pain-free for the first time in over a year, and it is so awesome.
I only wish I'd known about it earlier. Right now, I am completely without pain.
Sitting here in this office right now, pain-free, eager to enjoy the rest of my life.
I am feeling great.
I feel 100% better, like a new person.
Today I feel absolutely fantastic. It's just incredible, the relief I feel right now.
Today I'm completely pain-free.
During the procedure, I literally felt the pain melt away. It was fantastic.
I feel so good.
It took care of my headaches instantly.
It's incredible. It's really incredible.
It gave me my life back.
It's just wonderful.
I feel fantastic.
It is just absolutely amazing.
So I'm hoping to be climbing hills in a few weeks.